Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our program info session for Applied AI and Data Analytics. I'm Fred Popowich. I'm a professor here in the School of Computing Science at Fraser University. I'm joined today by Dr. Stephen Bergner, our Associate Director of Data and Analytics at SFU's Big Data Hub, and by Rishabh Kaushal, who is our Senior Developer Data and AI at SFU's Big Data Hub. We also have two featured alumni who will be coming to talk to us today as well about their experiences. Before we start, though, I want to take time to recognize I'm presenting to you today from the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kikite, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tawasan peoples, on whose unceded traditional territories our three campuses at SFU reside. My commitment to supporting truth and reconciliation is to increase awareness to Indigenous cultures and ways of knowing and doing. I encourage you to explore about the Indigenous cultures in the areas you live and the lessons that these cultures have provided regarding connection to community, land, and people. So we're talking about applied AI and data analytics, and that's what our information session is about. But what do we mean by a bunch of those words in there? What is data? What is AI? And what do we actually mean by analytics? Well, before we talk about analytics, actually, you know what? The goal of analytics is really simple. It's to extract insights from data. And those insights should guide action, improve understanding, and support better decisions. Think about those three outcomes. Action, which is turning insights into concrete ideas an organization can take. Understanding, which is explaining what's happening and why. And decisions, which is helping leaders choose the best path forward. Whether you're using traditional analytic tools or AI or a combination of them, these three outcomes are what we're always aiming for. Analytics usually follows a very structured process, and maybe for some of you, this roadmap might look familiar. As we take a look along this path, you see that the first thing you do is you define the problem. What question are you trying to answer? Then you explore and prepare data, cleaning it and shaping it so it's useful. You then apply models and methods, anything that can be from simple statistics to very advanced machine learning and a wide range of AI techniques, which we take a look at in this course. Finally, along this road, along this path, you test and deliver results to the people who will act on them. You'll notice these stages also directly map to the modules we have in our ADA program for applied data analytics. You can see the individual modules associated with defining the problem, separate modules for exploring and preparing the data, applying those models this is done in several modules, and finally testing and delivering those results. So that's done over the whole 10 modules over the whole 10-week program. So that whole aspect of testing and delivering results is really the key to be able to take those actions and determine those insights, because it's about communicating and delivering. And in terms of that path, what is interesting about it is it's applicable to numerous domains. So whether you're dealing with healthcare, financial services, security, whatever environmental concerns, the same pathway is very relevant, and that's why courses like ADA are extremely interested. People are extremely interested in them, regardless of their background. And what is interesting about our course is that AI can help at all points along that path. So traditionally, analytics has just relied on structured methods, like whether it be spreadsheets, SQL, or dashboards. Those tools have important strengths. They're reliable, explainable, reproducible, well understood, which helps us build trust with the decision makers. But they also come with limitations. Traditional approaches can be manual and slow and can struggle to keep up with the volume, variety, and complexity of modern data. That's why new approaches, including AI, are becoming so important and why we focus on them in this course. They don't replace the traditional workflow, but they reshape how quickly and effectively we can move through it. And that's really why AI can't replace the analyst. So we're not about having AI take jobs away from everyone. We're basically, AI can support you, but it isn't ready to lead. Your role as an analyst is more important than ever. You're the one who asks the right questions, assigns the right tasks, and brings business context to the results. You verify the outputs, making sure they're credible, and you communicate those insights clearly. AI may be powerful, but at the end of the day, you remain accountable for the insights that guide decisions. And that's a key message that you would get through this whole 10-week course that has been we've offered several times in the past, and we're excited about offering again coming on this fall, which we'll be telling you more about later. But what I'm also pleased about is that we're going to be hearing today from some alumni from different offerings of the course. Leanne took our applied AI and data analytics program, and she commented how it gave her practical tools to apply AI to real-world data analysis, to validate her work with confidence and prepare the evolving future of work. So she's joining us today, and she's going to be there for our question answer session at the end of today. Before that, though, and before we give you more details on the program, I want to turn things over to one of our featured alumni for today. That's Ashley. And Ashley's comment here before we pass on to his presentation is that the applied AI and data analytics, our ADA program, gave him much more than he would expect. The skills you gain let you move faster, do more sophisticated work, and become not one full-time engineer, but more like 10. So with that note, I'm going to pass you on to Ashley. Over to you, Ashley.
Thanks, Fred. One of the things you have to do in this program is complete a final project. And it's a small piece of work. You're not doing a massive piece of work, but it's a small task you got to complete. And the one that I chose was the IBM HR Analytics Challenge. It's been on Kaggle for years, and it's about 10 years old. And if you're someone in human resources, one of the things that you hear a lot from people is we have to reduce turnover. And so when you have an exercise like this, you're using AI-assisted models to look at a huge list of employees with about 30 different fields in terms of how old they are, who they are, the job they do, what they get paid, where they live, like all these kinds of things. And you have to use the AI models to the best of your ability to try and predict who's going to quit. And it's one thing to say, I can predict if I have 100 people and I need to predict 10 who are going to quit, because typically 10 quit every year. I have to try and predict which 10 are going to quit and be as accurate as humanly possible. But when the models are saying, in order to predict 10 people who are going to quit, you need to interview 90 people, that's not something you can take to your business leaders and say, hey, let's go interview almost everybody in the company to figure out who's going to work. What you want is to be able to interview 15 people and correctly guess the 10 that are going to quit. And that's exactly what you get to do in a program like this. You run model after model after model after model, run an ensemble, pull it all together, look at the ones that make the most sense, and go with the efficient ones, because in corporations, we want efficiency rather than accuracy in a lot of cases. Of course, they want both at the same time. They're not going to get it, but you do our best, right? So next slide. So through this course, one of the things you do is you actually look at the old ways. And in human resources, if I'm trying to put people into buckets such as is going to quit and is going to stay, I used to use a logistic regression model. I used to use that in SPSS. There's all kinds of add-ons you could do in Excel too. There's all kinds of things doing it. I call those the old ways. And for a lot of us that are now managers and or even like key technical consultants, the old ways still hold a lot of sway because we built our careers on it and we know what we're doing with them. But now we have AI-assisted machine learning tools. Not only are they more sophisticated than the old ways, they're faster, they're probably better, and they're going to give you a huge variety of different methodologies and then present them all to you for your review. And then you take a look at them all and say, all right, what's my answer? And learning these new ways, it is so incredibly fast and it does so much work for you so quickly that if I have a small team of 2 or 3 people, having this with me, having this kind of AI-enhanced programming with us, really does enlarge us to 10. And I'll explain why that makes my team bigger. I'm not worried about job losses. I'm now worried about the amount of work that we can do with all of this, and we can do a lot more than we've ever done before. And so this ensemble modeling effort here in the third one is literally, I can do all these old ways and new ways, throw it all together, show me the results. And then when I'm done and I've kind of made some good conclusions and I have my story, is I can conduct a SHAP analysis. It's like my post-mortem analysis. What are the major drivers of these decisions? What are the major drivers of these models? What are the big things causing people to quit their jobs from a human resources perspective? What are the main things that cause people to buy a product if you're a marketing person? So a SHAP analysis is kind of like that post-mortem, let's take a look, what's really driving this? People really, really like seeing this too. And the leaders really like this because they get a good fundamental understanding of what's going on. So So in my company, I work at a commercial real estate firm, and one of the tasks that they said to me, we called it the employee listing project, and they said, of all of our surveys, what are people saying? And when I looked at 5 of the surveys that we're running, we had over 125,000 comments over a period of about 4 years from about 8,000 people. Lots of surveys, lots of comments, lots of topics. And what we were trying to do is say, okay, let's use AI to do a sentiment analysis, a thematic analysis. Let's do all kinds of analysis on the usage of rhetoric and emotion and everything else going out of this. And the AI was able to pull all this out. And the really cool thing about this is to say, okay, now that you can do all this qualitative analysis, can you segment it for the 500 cost centers in my organization and create a summary for each of those cost centers? It does that in a few minutes. And you're sitting there going, that would have taken me 10 co-op students going through all this data for how long, trying to figure out what the patterns and themes are and guessing and making their own answer. And now there's 2 of us and we can do this with AI and we can do it in, a few minutes, run it again in a few more minutes, keep pulling stuff out, and I can define the outputs and I can get emails and Excel files, whatever I also want from this, it does that. And so the other thing that we're doing in my company right now is we are carrying out the intended, who are the flight risks? Who is going to quit their job? And so what we're doing practically on the ground is I run the computer model and I generate lists of people that the computer says, hey, you're going to quit. You're most likely going to quit the next 12 months. I then hand these lists out to our local frontline HR business partners, and they start having discussions with people identified on the list. And one of the funniest things about it is they were surprised that we noticed. They were surprised that we were talking to them, and they were very happy to be talking to somebody about their career at our company. And it was just a matter for a lot of them of, I'm glad I talked to you. I wanted my goals met. I want to know where things are going. Or some of them were saying some simple things as I need help with like this particular like part of my commute, or I need to change my hours or FTE. Very simple, inexpensive things that made people very, very happy are probably going to have them stay your organization for a long time. And so what we've noticed is that we've usually got a minimum number of people who quit per week or per month from our organization. And lately, we've been tracking below that. And so we haven't had enough time to go by to see what is the actual reduction, but we've already been noticing a reduction in resignations over the last few weeks, and it's been very encouraging. So we're pretty happy with what the AI is doing for us at work.
What I'd like to do now is actually transition over to giving you a bit more insight into our program. So the program overview of applied AI and data analytics. I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Dr. Stephen Bergner, for him to walk you through a few of these slides. Stephen, over to you.
Thank you, Fred. And yeah, thanks for this opportunity, really, for people stopping by to see if this course could do something useful for you. What we're trying to do to make this vision work that Fred told you about is we're trying to identify the main theme of how this module will help you. It's about transforming data into insights with AI. You can put a lot of problems on top of that, including the big problem space that Ashley just walked us through. Also, I really like that he showed us the lineage, right? There was a challenge data set from IBM HR, and that actually allowed to copy a lot of templates of the problem and solutioning and then upgrade it with what's possible in 2026. And so what we're really trying to address here is to take on this challenge of connecting, amplifying your unique expertise. That's the end of this long sentence, and to use AI as a tool for that, right? And another keyword here is to master the AI tools and not be mastered by them, and honestly, and not even be too intimidated by the fact that they influence what you do, just to understand what's going on and how you can play a leading role in this, which would take me to the next slide. So the way how we're structuring this when we talk about it is overall, this is a transformation process that, you yourself might go through that journey, right, as you're taking our program, but also when you're doing data analysis, you're trying to take data, apply a method, and then come out to that important endpoint on the right, data-driven decision-making, right? And the way how we go about it is we try to structure the tasks that you already bring in with your expertise, things that you can do, or tools that you've used in the past that have a clear name that you can already trust, right? The old ways that have a lot of sway, is actually how you want to operate in your organization. You can't just innovate and you do new things from scratch. You will have to do a lot of work for buy-in. Instead, talk like how your organizational culture already talks, and take on the topic of automation in a very careful, informed manner, right? Because what do you delegate? What do you trust your machines with? And the AI tools that we're bringing to the table is not just one. Each of them is good for a particular task. And the main theme of how we're enabling participants to really lead in that space is to say the connecting theme is language. If you have phrase your question, deal with the answers that come back, and decide later on. One way of governing this process is to establish clear language when you go in, through, and out of it. And that's part of how we approach it. And actually, next slide will give us even more details on how we approach it. So 10 different modules are layered, as the first 5 are all the basics. And then the next 5 are advanced, deeper topics, like how to deal with sensitive data that you cannot give to a third party. What can you do on your own local machines, right? Those are questions you're not going to deal with in week 1 or 2, but in week 8, you might have reached that level of concern. And so, yeah, the learning itself, we always have a few minutes at the beginning where we go over concepts and theory that matters for this week. But then the presentations are hands-on, and you'll get to hear a person that, like Rishabh, who will speak in a moment, who actually does these things for a living. Like he is actually a developer who builds sort of, you could think high-rises or cities in terms of software space. But we also have those types of roles running a tutorial where they do the work that involves those tools in front of your eyes. And you can watch that recording later and see, why should I care about that space? Why should I care about that step? Or how can I stay at the level of control that matters for my role, right? So we're trying to sort of build trust in processes by walking you through them, so you can pick the level of detail that matters for you going forward. And there's also peer-to-peer learning sessions at the last end of those. Oh, actually, I'm describing these peer-to-peer learning sessions. So lecture, demo, and then really where it becomes peer-to-peer is you get into a breakout room where it's just 3, 4, 5 people. They're all talking to each other, dealing with the problem of the day, and then we come back to the main room and share back what we've learned. So this is a weekly experience, you can imagine, and the homeworks you do on the side are very manageable. You can finish it in 15 minutes per week, or you can spend 15 hours on it, and that choice is going to be yours. To make the workshop useful for you. And yeah, if you need deeper expertise on questions, the Big Data Hub, which is the logo in the top right, is also a core facility at Fraser University that can connect you with follow-up engagements of developing components for your company, right? Or seeing is what the type of problem I'm facing. Is that a research opportunity? Could we have a thesis student on this? This is not something you decide in a single meeting, but the longer engagement format with SFU would allow you for that, right? And the micro-credential is a beautiful entry point. You can also say, oh, do I want to do a 4-credit program with SFU after? So all these rails are opening up. And I will just hand it over to Rishabh for the next slide, where he gives you a flavor of what's special in those demo sessions.
Thanks, Stephen. So yeah, let me say a bit about how we run the live demos. Because the way they are set up, they are deliberate. So first, they are generally live, so not pre-recorded, not a slideshow of screenshots. The cohort basically watches me build something real, like in real time on the actual tools. And one choice we made early, like students don't code along, they just watch. That's on purpose. So because if you're scrambling to keep up with the typing, you miss the thinking. The demo is theirs to observe, and they get the materials as well as the recorded demo later on to try it themselves afterward as well. Second, the AI, it does all the heavy lifting for us, like out in the open. Like I work with a coding assistant, like something like Codex or maybe Gemini in Colab, and then I show the actual prompts that I'm typing, and I build the solution step by step, rather than pasting in one giant block. So you can see how a real person works with AI. Ask for a piece, check it, and then ask for the next. And the third thing is the pacing. So most of our students, they aren't software engineers. So I narrate as I go, and I explain what I'm trying to build there. because when I'm explaining what I'm building while I'm doing it, not before, not after, I keep it, at an unhurried pace so that they can comprehend what is being done. So the goal isn't to look fast. It's for everyone to follow the reasoning. And honestly, sometimes the AI hands me something, wrong or something unexpected live in front of, everyone. I treat that as one of the most valuable moments in the demo, because the real skill we are teaching isn't exactly that, how to spot when the answer is off and how to steer it. So the demo isn't like watch the AI write the perfect code. It's like watch a person ask the right questions and verify what comes back. So that is the experience with the that how we do the live demos. So yeah, back to you, Stephen.
And yeah, I'll hand it over to Fred for
Okay,
what we're
great.
leaving you with.
Yeah, and what's interesting, and thanks for the detailed description of the peer learning sessions and what actually comes out of it and what people do on a week-to-week basis. Because aside from you do get this certificate of completion at the end of the course, which can be tied in the credential being shown on your LinkedIn profile. And so it shows specifically that the work that you did with Simon Fraser University is being recognized not only from the BD School of Business, but from the core facility, which is the Big Data Hub, which is providing a wide range of support for a lot of data-oriented services. But what you also get coming out of it, as was pointed out there, is the work that you do each week. You're handing in a homework assignment, basically, which maybe involves some analysis, some thought about what you've been thinking about, what you've seen. But it also allows you to, by the end of the course, have projects, where in 3 slides, you can summarize a huge amount of insight and work that was communicated and done over a period of time. And that work was done in conjunction with using AI, which many people have commented that what they got out of the course was much more than the certificates. It was the project that they were able to get out of it. Not only were they able to solve a challenging problem that they were able to do it in a time frame that they didn't think was capable, when they first came into the course. And we already saw that with respect to Ashley's presentation. And what I wanted to do is, in terms of getting things started, Leanne is another person that has gone through the ADA program. And I was going to turn things over to her as everybody starts to put their questions into the QA period for all of us to answer. But Leanne, wondering if you can spend a few moments answering the first question with respect to if you want to tell us about your experience in the ADA program.
Yeah, I had a fantastic experience in the ADA program. I'm really glad that I completed the course. I really especially appreciated the accessibility of the course. The low-code and no-code tools made the program accessible to professionals from diverse backgrounds. Yet at the same time, the program provided the opportunity to familiarize oneself with code and covered the full analytics lifecycle from data preparation to deployment and communication of results. Also, I appreciated that the program focused on applying informed decision-making processes to data analytics workflows with both hands-on practice and a final project, which really helped me tie together all the concepts we learned during the course. So the flexible format, the highly knowledgeable instructors, and the collaborative learning environment really enabled me to immediately apply the new skills that I learned to AI-driven solutions within my own workplace.
Great. Thanks very much, Leanne. And actually, while I see some questions are starting to come in, feel free to, upvote, questions that you see coming through there. And our team, for some of the questions, will also aim to answer them, in the QA part as well. But while we're still waiting for more questions to come in and be voted on, Ashley, question I was wondering to follow on to your presentation. Basically, I spoke a fair bit about those, and all of us spoke about those peer-to-peer learning sessions and that. How have those peer-to-peer learnings in the program impacted you?
They were really interesting because everybody's from different backgrounds, like different industries, different resumes, completely different degrees or qualifications. And we were all interested in the same things. It was like, I want to do low code and no code. I want to know the concepts. I want to know what is AI? What can it do for me? Like all wanted to upgrade our skills, but we all came from very different places. But what was really neat is coming from all those different places, you gain their perspectives and you see what they're dealing with. And we were able to offer each other advice and help each other. And then we got familiar with each other. So we were all in the trenches together. We all did well together and we had fun. So
Excellent. Well, great. And we have thanks for that. And we have some questions coming in. First question I'm going to answer live was from Carolyn Johnson. And the program states that eligibility equals 2+ years of experience in a technical role. What qualifies as a technical role? Would be great to know what skill set you're expecting students to enter with. And I'm going to pass this one off to Stephen, since he's been involved with the teaching of a lot of these cohorts, and from this vast experience also being associated with as a lecturer in the School of Computing Science, where he's taught data science and AI. I'd be very interested in hear, Stephen, you respond to this question. Over to you, Stephen.
Yeah, it's nice to get technical about the word technical, really, because and here would be my definition of it. If you are a user of language in your professional context where it really matters what you say, like your language operates and the things that you say have clear meaning as in their consequences to it, and for doing that right, you have to understand what you're doing. There's a qualification sitting behind you and how you operate within your role. Then you are a technical person, right? So what Ashley was talking about, understanding the business space of his company and how he articulates it and how he talks about it, that is all technical talk, even though there wasn't a moment where he said, oh, I'm fitting a linear model and these are the significant factors and I'm looking at the factor loadings and therefore I conclude and share with management, right? So it's technical means systematic thinking. And now this is where AI enters, right? So there's this understanding of human intelligence and how you build it and how you get there to qualify yourself. And if there's something artificial to it, which is a piece of intelligence made by humans for humans, run by machines, or another artificial piece of intelligence, you can by reading a book, it'll qualify you, and then you can do things that this book enabled you to do, right? That's sort of old school thinking, and we already know qualifications layer like that for technical work. And now if you then also can, instead of reading a book, you can ask a certain structured, clear, critical question to AI to pull this piece of information in. What makes you technical is that you have the level of judgment to understand whether you can trust this right now or not. And if by your judgment is I don't trust this, that you would know what to do about it. And in the olden days, you would ask more questions, right, according to your technical understanding. And in the new days, that's still true. Only that you can now ask your questions not just to expert roles, but also to pieces of AI that are carefully calibrated. And what we spend those 10 weeks on is that we're making more transparency underneath these dialogue systems that allow you to understand which types of questions have serious technical validity to them and which ones you should treat as like, sounds good, sounds plausible, but could be entirely hallucinated, right? And these lines require also technical qualification. So sorry, long answer, but it also kind of puts light on the architecture we have.
I think, and I appreciate the long answer there, Stephen.
Yeah.
I think what's an interesting aspect of it is if I'm reading underneath the question and that I think part of the thing, people used to view technical as, you know, you're a technical person if you have to script, if you write code and things like that. The thing that I really notice how that has changed is technical means that you understand your business processes and you understand your data, because that is a lot of the direction.
And there's serious stakes to that understanding. That's where it gets technical.
Yeah, great. Okay, going to move on to the next question here is another question. Is a program using mostly Microsoft tools, IBM, Amazon, or others? So Rishabh, can I pass that one on to you since you are been so much immersed in the tools there? Over to you, Rishabh.
Sure, yeah. So we are using a mix of tools, but mostly we are focusing on two tools. One is Gemini in Google Colab, and then the other one is ChatGPT, and we also use and ChatGPT is from OpenAI, and we also use its AI assistant, which is Codex. And the Microsoft one, the model that the Microsoft uses in the Copilot, that is also powered by or the OpenAI company, the GPT models. So we show you how we use these GPT models via ChatGPT or via Codex, and we also show you different models as well, like Gemini from Google, so that it's basically you get the skills. And you don't have to rely on one AI model, and you can take the learning that you get from this course working with couple of or two three different models and apply that to any other models as well. So yeah.
So when we call it Codex and ChatGPT, right, or Copilot, that we are also transparent in the course. There is a model underneath that both of them share. Both of them sit on top of OpenAI technology, but Copilot is branded by Microsoft and it lives inside of a Microsoft ecosystem. And that could matter for your company if you have enterprise data grade eligibility for Microsoft tools. Then you may be happy to know that Copilot is your operator in that space. And whatever this course is teaching you can entirely live within that ecosystem, right? So just because we say, oh, we use Codex, and you say, but we are using a Copilot, these things are completely interchangeable because both of them are language technology. And what is a bit changing is the governance model. With Codex, you sit on top of a folder, and everything that gets created is inside of a folder that sits on your disk, or you can put it in the Git repo and collaborate on it. Whereas if it's packaged inside of, like, I'm having a dialogue and I'm making an engine that remembers what I did, then that governance also happens, but it's delegated to the solution provider. And I'm talking about it as if it's something uncomfortable, like I'm giving knowledge away, but there's a lot of value to sitting on top of a stack like that, because these company-housed AI solutions can then have your branding and your in-house processes and not give irresponsible answers to questions according to your company's policy, right? So we are understanding that these tools may operate differently within the context of your organization versus within the context of your organization that's your own life, right? So you can think about both in these ways, and skills, of course, transfer between the two. So that's another tool talk, tool agnostic, actually, to a level.
Yeah, and thanks very much for contributing there. And I'm noticing, as all of you may have noticed, some of the questions are already being answered in the QA as well, so you can take a look there. One that was already been answered in the QA, I thought was an interesting question, was somebody had a question about the minimum amount of data be entitled for the course. So, like, in terms of that, Rishabh, do you want to just, since you answered in there, just summarize just so that everybody can hear about it and give any additional insights?
Sure. I can just repeat what I just said there. So yeah, no strict minimum or required format for the data set. Like, what matters is that the data has something worth investigating, not how big it is. If you have big, we can tackle that as well, but not a requirement. A few hundred rows or meaningful tabular data. It can even a CSV data, or it can be a spreadsheet where each row is a record is enough. And it doesn't need to be clean either. Tidying, cleaning up the messy data is part of what you'll practice throughout the course. And the most useful things to bring are a clear question and a few columns that carry a signal if your data has sensitive or personal. Yeah, and if your data has sensitive or personal info, that's fine. We cover handling it responsibly, and you can use an anonymized version as well. And you don't even have to bring your own data. So every lab comes with ready-to-use data sets, so you can follow along and learn all the techniques without even sourcing anything yourself. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for the additional summary. So I'm now basing it on the upvotes of the questions back to a question involving handing in of homework. If we are applying this against sensitive data in our workplace, what kinds of security is in place around data information and shared? Hopefully, there's also a way to anonymize data in the training, for example. I just want to just turn this open to our panelists to see if of my colleagues. I imagine almost anybody can answer this from that point of view, or maybe even actually, Ashley, given that you were a student in this, did that whole aspect about using your own data, how did you deal with that? Would you like to do an initial answer for that one, Ashley?
Yeah, sure. We had classes Tuesday night on our semester, and then we had to hand in our homework by Friday night. It was more than enough time. You could spend 3 hours on the homework if you wanted, and you could do it all in 20 minutes. It depends if you were like a leader manager and you wanted to do that homework stream, that was stream A. Stream B was the more technical route, which is kind of the route that I took because I was dealing with data in my job. But there was no real problems in doing the homework. If you were going to be late, you just talk to them. You just say, hey, or, I got stuff going on. I got jobs. I got kids. I got this. I got that. There was almost all of us were mature students. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
great.
So
Yeah. And did you end up using your own data on this, or
sometimes, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
sometimes Kaggle was a great one. You just go find data online and run exercises. Kaggle was a big source for us. You guys actually told us to go there, and so we did. So
yeah. Yeah, and in that aspect of being able to deal with data, like being concerned about whether you need to use like real data or third-party data or anonymized data. Stephen, do you want to make an additional comment in terms of handling the homework related to anonymized data sets or sharing of data sets? Over to you, Stephen.
Mhm. Yeah, I really appreciate Ashley's perspective of like how this worked for his setting, because the deliverables that we expect from you are actually just a trace of work. What you're submitting are slides. Each week you submit 1 or 2 slides that are a reflection on what you worked on. And if you did technical work of 10 hours, then those slides are going to carry a trace of it. And if you just answered a question that was interesting to you, and then those slides would carry that, right? And we let all of that pass. You are not getting an A+ because you revealed something really deep, or a C because it was a quick one. Still relevant, that's not how we value your work at all. What we check and what your certificate is based on, that you stayed with us and that you did something that we hope was of value to you. And through the channels of activity that we create, that we're saying there is value for you waiting here. Go get it if you want. And revealing so that format now, I'm just going to say, allows you to work on confidential stuff on your desk, but the slides that you upload to us can be any version of that, including a completely anonymized thing of like, I tried so and so in bullet this came out and bullet that came out. You do not have to share plots from your work with us. You do not have to share the data set. And that's for the weekly work, right? So you can choose how real you want to make it for your own work problem, or how hypothetical you want to keep it. And then the same thing is true for the final project. We want that to be relevant for you. So maybe you really want to get into your work stuff. And again, it would be the sharing boundary at the end. Like, is this something I can talk about or not? All we ask you is submit slides, and that gives the governance of what goes in the slide and what doesn't go into the slide entirely to you. And all that we're going to do is listen to what you say on a technical level, right? And all the meaningful things you say, how vetted are they, and what method have you used to build that trust for yourself? And that's a space that you can navigate. So there's nothing in the course that sort of levers or leverages or breaks out business secrets from your organization. You can share just as much as you think is healthy for you within those peer learning sessions, which is also what Ashley mentioned, right? The diversity of backgrounds that people then bring in is a rich resource. And I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's
with
great.
putting
Thanks,
the control
Stephen.
in your hands. You're essentially the sovereign over that type of value that sits in your data, and it's not an afterthought.
Yeah, great. Moving on to a few of the other questions here. One, I'm going to jump down to a second one right here, and I'm going to ask our alumni to chime in on this. So, and being very mindful of the time because we're getting close to the end of it. An interesting question was, what technical skills are required to successfully attend the course? And people were asking, what time of day will the course be held? Will be conducted virtually, in person? I will start responding to a few of those things, saying that we do have those synchronous sessions every week, which are generally an hour and a half long. The opening and closing sessions are 2 hours, and those peer learning sessions are been determined to be a key value for many aspects of the course. So it's really important, whenever the registration is open, it's clear what time of day those sessions are. Those are very important to attend. And everything is conducted virtually, not in person. So people have been able to, even when they're in the workplace, deal with it from being able to aspect of that. But from the technical background, just very briefly, Ashley and Leanne, what was your technical background coming into it? Leanne first, how technical was your background?
My background wasn't too technical. I had completed courses in C++ and Python before, and I played around with interacting with some AI agents in the past, but I found that it really wasn't necessary. I could have completed the course easily without any technical experience, and I think it's very flexible, and it's sort of up to you how technical you want to get when you complete this course. There's multiple streams of homework assignments, and the final project is very open-ended, which I think was very helpful, especially when you're considering the time commitment to the homework. It was up to you how much time you wanted to spend on it.
Yeah, great. Ashley, any other comments you'd like to about your technical background and anything
Oh,
you'd like
yeah.
to add to that?
I was an MBA, so it's not like we're doing any coding. Like I don't have coding experience at all, and I didn't have AI agent exposure at all. So I had no background in that whatsoever. I had Excel, SPSS, Tableau, Power BI, all business consulting tools. So going into this program gave me this huge edge in using AI for coding in massive data analysis. And I'll tell you this, way faster setup than anything you could get in SPSS, way more powerful results than SPSS. So
Fantastic. Okay, we're getting close to wrapping up, and I know people are, and you'll notice we've been answering questions in the QA, and we'll be able to continue to follow on to provide other answers, with participants as needed in terms of that. One thing I just wanted to just point out to the aspect of the students and in terms of this, just briefly in terms of the question that people are asking with respect to the being able to still use the models after the course. I think Rishabh, you responded to that. Do you want to just give a quick verbal response in terms of how that works out? Because basically you're using your own data, the computers are doing the coding. Would you like to just respond to that one, Rishabh? I think
Yeah, you partially answered. So yeah, generally in courses like this, so you are working like building these notebooks, models and analysis, and they're all yours to keep and reuse. We try to use the open source data for our own lab materials. And if you're bringing your own data, right, that is yours to keep.
Well, I have to say, it's been a great session. We heard a lot of interesting questions from people. We're still getting some of those questions coming in. Feel free to post that in terms of it. In general, if you have questions about you now know who to reach out to with respect to the program. If you have specific questions, I think hopefully we've been able to cover a lot of them in the meantime. What I'd like to do is thank everybody for contributing today. I know it's been a lot of time that it's a 1 hour chunk out of your day to be able to participate in this live session. We're making it clear that, everybody can follow up with us afterwards if they have additional questions. And we are really looking forward to answering your questions, and hopefully we'll be seeing many of you in an upcoming session, which is scheduled for this fall for the 10-week session of Applied AI and Data Analytics. On behalf of myself and our whole team behind the ADA program, thanks very much for joining us today and looking forward to connecting with you in the future.